again. You have to go.
It's shorter as well. Right, so this is not actually my story. This is the story of a very brave lady who can't be here today. So I hope I do it justice. I've had a chest infection. I do apologise. It sound a bit... Right. It's called A Mother's Journey. I've only got 10 minutes to talk to you about my daughter being trans. She told her brother and I when she was 20. She was tearful when she told us that she had been advised not to tell her family, or she'd be thrown out. We assured her that we were a family and we would always love her. She couldn't explain why she thinks she's a boy, other than other people can explain it better. She said she wanted to have her breasts removed and take hormones, and the taking of the hormones was urgent, as it was getting too late to change her bone structure. I asked her if she'd discussed this with a doctor or psychologist, and she'd said she'd had years of counselling. I asked her, won't this make you infertile? She was adamant that she didn't want children and could adopt later. I told her that it was very hard to adopt in Australia. Why didn't she freeze her eggs and keep that option open? I would pay. She began speaking as if reading from a script. She would not take any extreme feminizing drugs. Only 1% of trans people ever regret it. She would never change her mind. My son, 7 years older, tried to say that there were lots of things he'd changed his mind on over the years. She herself was an IVF baby, so I tried to explain that hormones to collect the eggs have no lasting effect. I also asked, who would she see herself in a relationship with? Somebody who accepts trans, is what she said. And I said, what would he or she look like? And she's had no answer for that. To my knowledge, she has never been in a relationship. I asked her if she'd spoken to anyone who had been through this before, and she said yes, in a meeting at Griffith University Library. It turned out it was a 40-year-old something trans man talking to gender-confused 19, 20-year-old girls, and none of this sounded appropriate to me. I deeply regret I had to walk away, because she would not talk to me about this again. She did tell her brother that she now had a circle of friends which she had not had before, and every attempt to talk since has been shut down and she's stormed off. After one tearful encounter, she suggested family counselling, but the headspace counsellor she had been seeing had left years before. In the time we searched for alternatives, she talked to her friends online and then made the decision not to do that anymore. I was swamped with despair and helplessness and confusion. My bright, beautiful ADHD daughter was always emotional, behind the other children and prone to emotional outbursts, which cost her friends. She spent too much time on a laptop and that her school insisted that she have. She watched anime. She was fixated on K-pop band TXT. Her room was still a mass of scented candles, plush toys, TNT posters and crochet. She shopped online at her favourite Canadian shops for dresses. She spent ages arranging her waist-length hair for her formal. And I do remember the striking difference between her and many of her friends. With the universal look of heavy tans and makeup, they must have been under such pressure that was so different from the 90s, 80s and 90s. As we lived in the country, my daughter decided to move to campus university and was very happy with the new friends. Within months, COVID came and she came home and disappeared into her room and her computer. I devoured information on gender dysphoria and ID. As an academic, I quickly discovered the lack of genuine evidence for the usual claims. Only 1% regret the huge statistic rate and the reversibility of hormones. I was not prepared for the fact nobody would want to talk to me, not even close friends. I am a left-leaning former Greens voter, but it has been suggested that I am a right-wing, misinformed, non-inclusive. I am Christian, but my female Anglican vicar is unquestionably pro-LBQT+. Nobody wanted to talk to my daughter. Not those who had known her all her life, not even her father, when I showed him the newly minted Victorian birth certificate stating that he now had a son, which was with a different name since 2000. So nobody seeing this would ever know that the person was the opposite sex, as stated. Are people even aware of this new doctrine of legal documents in Australia? I met many people who confess to knowing young girls who are now trans men. A teacher in my kids' private school was not surprised. It was common, although unusually much younger. There's no concern about the upswing of trans-identifying females, the medicalisation and the secrecy from parents. My hairdresser knew a number of clients and had a sad conversation with one. She told me that it's better to have a live son than a dead daughter, and kept saying that the medical experts know better and can explain it much better. Her daughter was self-harming and was then in a relationship with another girl. I cannot understand why largely discredited affirmation is still practiced here. My daughter is getting her advice and hormones from the internet and old school friends. The best support has come from my son. He is reading psychology, but notice all the discussion about gender dysphoria was the only subject where discussion was discouraged. He's also aware, having gone through the same school, that this is not a new phenomenon. He also loves and knows his sister very well and her other issues, but she cannot tell him why she thinks she's a boy. She did try to persuade him, however, that he was non-binary, based on a stereotypical tick list. But if you apply the same logic to her, she would tick very little masculine boxes. She is beautiful, and she is. No matter hair, clothes, weight, sexual attractions, likes and dislikes, people are not a stereotype. How can it be healthy to teach children that they are in the wrong body, at war with their own biology, to sterilise and mutilise themselves, even before experiencing the joys of a loving, long-term relationship? Isn't that the ultimate self-harm? As a mother, I will choose to be there if she lets me. I do not feel that means I have to lie to her or myself. I wish others didn't. There is no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that those who love her can see. And that's Christina's story. And as a mother of two kids, this absolutely scared me.